So, welcome back. I know it's been about a week or so because issues I've had with my power and internet. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably know what I'm talking about. And I figure there's no better way to jump into this than another Syria update. These always do well. They're always really popular. People seem to like them a lot. Now, with the way things are looking, this may be one of the last Syria updates I do because, in terms of ISIS at least, because just look at that. Earlier this morning, I can't remember who put it out. I think it was the Associated Press. 5:57 Eastern Time said that the Syrian government has declared the fall of ISIS. However, I feel like that's more propaganda, but the fall of ISIS is basically inevitable at this point. It's coming around sooner than I would have thought. I said it was going to last until about next year, about March 2018, February, March 2018. That was my prediction. Well, the way we're looking at it now, they're probably going to be done by January or the end of the year if we're lucky. And I'll come back more towards Western Syria and talk about the opposition, the FSA first, but we look at this. And just side note, I always have the key on the side so you can see what faction is fighting, and I'll put the link to the live map if you want to look at it yourself. Abu Kamal, which is the last stronghold of ISIS, last urban stronghold, in both Iraq and Syria. I'll show you the map showing both Iraq and Syria. You can see the city's still under control, but it's under siege by Assad's forces. As you can see, they have the armored infantry and, well, not really armored infantry, the armored units. My bad, sorry. The regular infantry, you can tell by the rifles, there's clashes nearby, and of course these points show it, and Syrian Ministry of Defense is acting a bit premature, if you ask me. I don't really think they have control over the city, as you can see by the urban layout. Like I said, to show you Deir Zor, but that's more old news. That's been out of ISIS' hand for the few weeks now. So that's ISIS in Syria. Now, what we really need to focus on is the Kurds, but we'll get back to them because I want to show you something a little bit interesting that I don't really think is going to lead to anything. The rebel forces did make some gains, but like I said, I don't think it's really significant. I think it's because all the forces have been focused towards the east, so the rebels have been taking whatever chance to do some land grabs before they get destroyed, because the way we're looking at it, Turkey is strange with the way it's been operating. It's been trying to draw close to Russia, but still anti-Assad, so Turkey's not really reliable for the FSA to have support from. Saudi Arabia is having all of its own internal problems, so they can't really turn to Saudi Arabia for support. Under the Trump administration, our strategy from America's point of view has been to turn to the SDF and the Kurds rather than supporting the Free Syrian Army and other rebel groups. So they're largely done because, Idlib is the only real urban stronghold they control. Not to mention they're decentralized, unlike the Syrian Democratic Forces, which is predominantly Kurdish. The rebels in the southwest are going to be different than the ones in the north and the one towards the Turkish border. So they haven't been a serious force since about 2014, 2015. A lot of people have basically realized at this point, and through the support behind the Kurds, especially the people who really want intervention in Syria. And like I said, the way I see things going with the Kurds, I think they're going to hold on to regional autonomy, not necessarily recognized by the Assad government, but more they don't feel like fighting another war, so they're just kind of begrudgingly accept it. However, I could be wrong because the Kurds don't have any international support except Israel, which I don't think Israel is going to get fully involved in Syria because I don't think the Israelis really want to bog themselves down in a war. They'll do covert things, of course. What country doesn't do covert things? But yeah, the Kurds have made a lot of gains, and if they were going to seek their independence, which I'm not going to give my opinion on, I already have in previous videos, but it's more analytical than anything, now would be the time to do it. They're in the strongest position they have. They're in the strongest position they're going to get. Now, like I said, not much international support. I doubt the U.S. is going to stand behind them. We didn't stand behind them for the referendum in Iraq. Speaking of which, I'll show you the full map with both Iraq and Syria, who controls what territory. Of course, I'll go back to the key. Now, like I said, ISIS in Iraq, I know I'm taking a bit of a turn, doesn't really have any urban strongholds, just this nothingness, just rural land. Whereas, like I said, this right here is their last urban stronghold, and Abu Kamal is their last urban stronghold over here. And like I said, I don't think that's going to last long. The Syrian government's already declaring it back under government control. And the Kurds are in a lot stronger position in Iraq, considering the fact they have legal autonomy by the government. However, things have been shaky there with the way the Iraqi government's been cracking down on the Kurds as of late, especially after their independence referendum. So I think it's going to be more of like a standoff than anything, rather than the Kurds actually going to all-out war, because they don't have enough support at this point. They don't have enough support to secure their independence. So, with the way we're looking at it, I think the next time we make a Syria update, ISIS is going to be off everyone's radar. I mean, how often do you hear about ISIS now? Except for these terrorist attacks, which unfortunately are going to go up as ISIS declines more and more. But realistically, the ISIS strongholds, they're done. I think they're going to be done by January. You can hold me to that prediction. If I'm wrong, I guess I'm wrong. And the FSA, I feel like it's just going to be skirmishes for the next several years, but they're going to live in relative peace. I feel like the FSA, they'll commit the occasional terrorist attack within Syria or military operation, but generally, I think Assad has won the war, and I don't think the Kurds will oppose him too much, because I don't think either side wants to risk another war after 6 years of fighting. So that's my Syria update. I'll be back tomorrow with a video about the entire situation with Saudi Arabia, and goodbye.